Angie is one of my readers who I had the pleasure of meeting a little over a year and a half ago at the International Female Ride Day at Crystal Harley Davidson. It was also a celebration of Rosie the Riveter. I actually pulled up next to Angie and her friend in the parking lot of Crystal Harley Davidson as we were lining up our bikes to do the ride later on that morning. And as I was climbing off my bike, I heard someone say, "That's Debbie Talbert Duggar, the author." Then I heard the next person say, "Who?" So, and I turned around and just started laughing. And it was Angie and her friend. Angie had read my book, her friend had not. It was a very humbling experience for me because, hey, you know what? Hustle until you no longer have to introduce yourself. And I am still introducing myself. Angie and I struck up a conversation. We rode together that day. And later on, we struck up another conversation. So I want to share that with you in this solo chat because I think Angie's story has resonated throughout my whole experience in riding a motorcycle. And it is the same story I hear from so many readers is they read my book and somehow have the courage to take off and do that first solo ride all by themselves. So lean in and listen as I talk to my friend and reader, Angie. Okay, Angie, how you doing? It's good to see you.
I'm doing great, Debbie. It's good to see you as well. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Well, and I just wanted to chat about your solo trips. You and I met, it's been over a year ago now. We met at the Rosie ride
Hmm.
that Robin coordinated, Uncaged Women at Crystal Harley Davidson. And I'll
Yes.
never forget that because it was a humbling experience. We rode next to each other, but your friend, remind me who she was, Shelley? Shell?
Michelle. Yeah. They
Michelle.
call her
Okay.
Michelle. Yeah, Michelle.
You were talking to me and you said, she goes, "Who's that?" And you go, "Oh, that's the author, Debbie Talbert Duggar." And she goes, "Who?" So that was humbling to me. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, no, yeah, hustle until you no longer have to introduce yourself. So
Correct.
you told me a story though about reading my book, Writing Solo, and it inspired you to take your first solo trip. So
Yes.
why don't you tell me about that?
My first solo trip after I bought the new bike, well, after I
Uh-huh.
bought the street ride, because I was going to take it on my first bike, which was the Dyna Switchback, but that thing would have beat me to death. I'm glad I
Uh,
did it on the street glide.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that was Thanksgiving weekend, and I had been planning this. I wanted to ride to the Keys. I wanted to do 7 Mile Bridge,
Hmm.
and that's what I did. I got up early on the day after Thanksgiving and went and rode it by myself, and it was great going across that
Well,
bridge.
and riding to the Keys anymore is in both you and I live in Central Florida. So for those who are viewing, a ride down to the Keys from where we live is about a 6 to 8 hour ride, depending on where in the Keys you're going to go. But 7 Mile Bridge is about halfway down. So, yeah, riding across that I don't know if that was the first time you rode across it, but even driving across it in a car is amazing.
That was my first time ever going to the Keys.
Oh, ever? Well, that's
Yes.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you find the traffic a little nerve wracking or
Oh,
no?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
and a lot of times, even with my experience at this point, I dislike traffic. And
mhm.
getting into and well, Thanksgiving, it may not have been super hot down there, but you got the whole clutch thing going all the time, and that's a little annoying anymore. The Keys used to be a easy ride. Anymore, I don't think so.
If
Other
I
than
do
the
it again,
traffic, what was your concern about being solo?
um, just, safety, period. Being by
Yeah.
myself and, having to stop and get gas or use the bathroom, making sure I had an easy way out from where I was at, finding some place that was safe for me to stay. And getting the bike locked up and waking up in the morning at the hotel and it still be out there.
Yeah, and those are all concerns, especially for women as we're traveling solo. Um, I think when I first started writing, I wasn't too concerned about that. Uh, and I should have been. It was just not something I was concerned. I was concerned about just staying upright on the bike when I
Mhm.
first started going solo. But I'm happy you brought up safety, because I try to talk about that a lot when I'm posting from my different travels. Is just be aware of your surroundings,
Mhm.
especially when you're pulling into a gas station or a rest stop or something.
Mhm.
Always have a way out, your nose pointed out, and be aware of who's around you. Did you feel threatened at all by anything or anybody on that trip?
No,
No.
not at all. It was a
Now,
smooth,
and
easy trip.
yeah. Any
Mhm.
mechanical issues?
No,
Nope.
not
Now,
one.
do you have roadside assistance?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And that's a smart
Absolutely.
thing for anybody who's out riding. I don't care if you're with a group or a partner or whatever, especially for women as we're riding solo, to have Harley, the Harley group offers roadside assistance. My Geico insurance has good roadside assistance. Certainly there's AAA. And I would assume about every insurance carrier has the roadside assistance
I
available.
carried in my insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so after your first solo trip, then you just recently took a second one.
Yes, I did. I
Yeah,
rode from Central Florida to Southwest Ohio
and that was a little
to
bit
visit my
longer
parents.
than riding down to the Keys, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it took me 2.5 days to get there and through the mountains, and I took all secondary roads. Um, GPS, even if I used though I used my phone, I still told it to, stay away from highways and tollways, and it took me on some pretty shady roads, you know?
Oh, I know. It can be actually it can be quite adventuresome.
Mhm.
I've gotten on a couple gravel roads. I was up in Ohio too. I think after you were, though.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, but yeah, my onboard navigation with the road glide that I have, I can't trust it. I can't trust it. All of a sudden it'll say unpaved road ahead. Oh, great. And
Yeah.
I did end up on a couple of gravel roads when I was riding the back roads in Ohio, and a couple other places.
Mhm.
You and I talked before you left on your trip up to Ohio,
Yeah.
and were your concerns the same? Was it just this anxiousness of taking off by yourself?
Yeah, as you call it, it's rest fever.
Restibar,
That's what the
Restibar.
guy
I'm not sure how the Swedish pronounce it. It's a
yeah,
Swedish term.
but
Yeah,
I had
that's
it.
legitimate. That's a
Mhm.
legitimate anxiety kind of thing. Tell me about yours.
I was just the excitement of doing it and having the time and riding up there and seeing my family, and I have, 2 sons that live up there, and to see them and for them to be able to watch me on my bike, and
Yeah.
my 3rd son followed me downtown Miamisburg, and they have this huge mural. It's the one that's on my Facebook
Right. You
profile
got some
that they
awesome pictures.
and he took pictures of me, and I stood on the seat and
Mhm.
like everybody does.
Yeah, is your
But yeah,
family pretty supportive of you riding your bike?
my mom thought I was crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. She
Um,
she doesn't get it.
well, and I found that it was oh, for the most part, supporting. My dad was my biggest, fan, my biggest cheerleader of riding that bike. Of course, both my parents are passed away, but
Mhm.
he loved to hear stories from the road, and he's the one I talk about in my book. He bought me the little GoPro camera, so that I could take pictures for him and post them to YouTube. But I had two teenage daughters when I bought my bike. They were a little concerned about mom having a motorcycle, but
Mhm.
it sounds like your boys are supportive.
They are. They just they've they've grown up around motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
That's my ex-husband. It was he's a body man.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, bike mechanic. We had a 30 by 40 pole barn in our backyard. So we were always painting, building something. And him and I built his first bike. Actually, it was a 1907 custom from the frame up.
Cool.
Yeah. So they've been around it all their lives.
Yeah. Now, when did
Mhm.
you start writing? You can tell me age if you want to, or you just say the last so and so
Well,
years.
I to writing myself.
Mhm.
So I'll be 55 next month. Um, about 5 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good,
Yep.
good, good. You know, I've talked to so many women over this last year and a half or so that I've been marketing my book, that didn't start writing until their 50s.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
always wanted to learn. And my ex-husband would, in one breath, it was, I'll build you a bike. Let's get mine done first, and then we'll build you a bike and I'll teach you how to ride. 3 days later, it was, you don't need to learn how to ride. You just stay on the back. And I was like, okay,
well,
whatever.
you know,
But
and you're referring to him as ex-husband, so we settled that one,
for
didn't
a
we?
reason,
We
for a
settled that
reason.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, isn't it amazing because my first solo ride came about as quite by accident because I was in the process of disengaging myself from a detrimental relationship, and it
Mhm.
happened in the ferry terminal at Bar Harbor, Maine.
I know the chapter well.
It wasn't pretty. It really wasn't pretty, but it served its purpose. You know,
Uh-huh.
it served its purpose. And then, so I was kind of stuck, not
Mhm.
really stuck, but I didn't have a choice. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I got to ride home. You know, I
Mhm.
need to ride home from Bar Harbor, Maine to Central Florida. So
Mhm.
that was my first solo ride. And you know, I've heard you say this before in our conversation we had before your Ohio trip that you need this solo time. I know you're in a relationship, but you need this
Mhm.
solo time to do some thinking, get your head straight.
Yeah.
Isn't
Everybody
that
needs
amazing what
time.
putting your knees in the breeze can do for your mental, your mental state of mind?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Because you don't overthink anything. You don't worry about anything. All your concentration has to be on riding that motorcycle
And
and
that's
watching
it.
traffic.
That's what I love. You know, you just it's shift, downshift,
Mhm.
clutch, shift, brake, hit the curve, or whatever it is. And it's a total process to manipulate the bike, I think,
Mhm. Yeah.
unless you're just cruising along. But I tell you, this past summer, I see it on almost all back roads. And it got to the point of being exhausting, really.
Yeah.
You know, after 4 or 5 days, my whole upper body hurt because just pushing and you know manipulating the
Mhm.
bike and um, it was a good tired. It's probably my most favorite tired is
Mhm.
after riding a long day or riding a really technical road.
Yeah. And all those mountain roads that we were on this summer, going through Tennessee and, well, Virginia and North Carolina. I think I
Yeah.
went through every national forest going north and coming back, you
And
know?
how did you feel after that? I know that for me, I've got to be out there practicing riding those roads in order to acquire the skills, the technical
Mhm.
skills of riding a bike. Did you feel any trepidation? And if you did, now do you feel more comfortable?
Yes and yes.
Okay, good.
Mhm. Especially with the rain that we've encountered
Oh,
this
I
summer.
know. I know. You
And
got you got blasted by some rain.
absolutely, and even hitting those curves right after it rained,
Yeah.
and the people behind you that are pushing you to go faster, you can't on those roads in the
Well, and you have to ride your own ride. That's what
Mhm.
I always say. And you do. You get on some of those roads, especially the tail of the dragon. We did the back of the dragon this summer. Luckily, we were there in midweek, and there wasn't a lot of people
Yeah.
on a couple of the roads.
Mhm.
But too many people don't have a lot of sense on two
No, they
wheels.
don't. No.
I'm kind
I
of
just
like the little old grandma out there, just riding my own ride. You know, if
Yeah, that's me.
you can go
That's
as slow
me.
as
I'm
you
like,
can. Yeah.
well, and they're pushing you on those curves and the roads are wet and ravine is right there. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you can stay behind me all you want to. I don't care. And as soon as I got to a point where the slow lane would open up on the right, I would just pull over and let him pass me. See
And
you
I
later.
get to the end of those roads. We did, like I said, the back of the Dragon we did when we were up in Virginia. And, of all the roads I have been on, I think that was probably the most technical for me. There
Hmm.
were a couple really gnarly kind of curves and switchbacks, and I was exhausted by the end, but I felt such a sense of accomplishment,
Yes.
such a
And you
sense
slept
of
good.
accomplishment. And
And you
do you
slept
find,
good.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You slept good that night, didn't
I
you?
did. I did.
So did
Um,
I.
and do you think that carries over into what you do for work?
Yes. Yes, I have a very stressful job. Um, so yes, it does carry over into my work. I do have a lot more confidence and carry myself a little bit better in my everyday life, knowing that I have the ability to do what I've done on both of the rides. Um, it's just a very big confidence builder.
Good. I'm
I've
happy to
accomplished
hear
something
that.
I didn't think I could, you
Right.
know?
Right. Something you hadn't done before, something you didn't do yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Angie, I really appreciate you talking to me and sharing some of your stories. And my goal with these little chats is that my viewers who maybe haven't taken that solo trip yet or haven't hit some of the more challenging roads or, ventured outside of Main Street Daytona, will do that after talking to some of my readers and some of the other people. I'm going to stop our recording, but I want you to stay online, okay?
Okay,
All right.
sounds good.